Welcome back to Talkville, the ultimate Smallville rewatch podcast. We're going back, way back. We watch every episode, and it's nice when you have a good episode. And we're going to discuss it right now. Welcome, Tom Welling, and we got Ryan Tejas, and we got Bryce behind the scenes. He might chime in. You never know. Thanks for listening to the show. If you really like the show, think about it as a streamer. If you want to go to Patreon, join Patreon and support the show. We need you. You keep the show going. So if you want to support us, go to Patreon, patreon.com/talkville, and become a patron today and keep supporting the show. We love our patrons. You get your name shouted out and a bunch of other stuff, and we couldn't.
Yeah, you get access to some things that other people don't get to see. I mean, we just had 2 great interviews with 2 great actors, and I'm sure some of it will be edited down, but that could be something where hey, you guys want to hear the whole interview? Like that, you have access.
You never know.
It's cool.
Patreon.com/talkville. If you did get a chance to call in to our hotline and leave a question for this episode, make sure you do for future one. All of that is in the show's description. You can go to talkville.com for amazing merch. Look at my Instagram, at the Michael Rosenbaum, the Instagram link tree, and you'll see the cons. Tom and I are going to Rose City. We're going to Tampa Bay. We're going to do the New Jersey con. Get tickets. They're selling out, and we'd love to see you and take pictures and just hang out with you. And I'm on the Cameo. And also a little shout out to Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath. That's right, Tom. I have to send you this for your doggy. Just a cap full in your dog's water, odorless, tasteless, and your dog's going to have puppy fresh breath. And you can get it on Amazon.
You talk about Cameo. I'm on that too. I got to check to see who gets more action, you or me. I'm going to check that because I think there's a way you can check.
You do. You're fucking Clark Kent Superman, man. So you're going to get more action. But if you want action from me, I'm fun. So find me on Cameo. And Ryan, you on Cameo?
Not yet.
Maybe you will be.
I don't know. I got enough gigs.
You never know.
I don't need a 5th gig.
Yeah. All right. Without further ado, let's get into season 5, episode 8. This one's called. Oh, before we do that, my new book, The Talented Farter, is available on pre-order. A lot of my celebrity friends are posting, and a lot of you guys have posted, and it's available on Amazon. Tom, I sent it to you. It's so funny. It's a fart book with great sounds, and Simon & Schuster's putting it out, and it's beautiful and it's fun. It's about this kid whose only talent is farting, but it's charming. Get one, pre-order on Amazon. I really think you're going to love it. I'm so proud of this book.
It's a biography.
It is. It's an autobiography. All right, without further ado, let's get into season 5, episode 8, Solitude. Title, Solitude, aired November 17th, 2005. Director Paul Shapiro also directed Aqua and Thirst this season. Writers Todd Slavkin and Darren Swimmer, who we love, also wrote Arrival and Aqua. Guest stars James Marsters as Brainiac Milton Fine, Terrence Stamp as the voice of Jor-El. Synopsis, Clark discovers more about his Kryptonian history as he attempts to fight destiny and protect the ones he loves. All the while, Lex's political campaign begins to entangle with his undercover Luthor Corp experiments. A lot going on in this episode, and it was nice to. It was compelling. I enjoyed it, but we'll get into it.
The episode opens with Smallville's second worst driver, Martha Kent, getting a ride home from Smallville's worst driver, Lois Lane. Before she can get inside, however, Martha gets blasted from the sky by some sort of red energy. Clark rushes to find her passed out and in a daze. The next day at the Daily Planet, Chloe plays meteorologist and tells Clark that nothing abnormal happened. Clark is confused by the sound and light he witnessed and suspicious that Jor-El is behind this.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I like the lighting in the house where you see this light go on while Clark's in there. And so the effects were really cool. And it was poor Martha out there. And that look, I mean, every time she does anything, it's always top notch. So it was cool to see that.
Yeah, they're really dropping this theme of what's the truth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's sort of like, who's telling the truth? And the characters aren't aware of it. They're trying to feel their way through it. But there's definitely a lot of that.
So much emotion. Back in Smallville, Lex stages a photo shoot for his campaign inside, for some reason, the freaking Talon. Lois questions. I'd love to see those pictures. Lois questions his intent, being that Martha works there, so Lex tells her to pipe down if she wants to see her next paycheck. Lois threatens to uncover dirt that would ruin his campaign, and Lex thanks the muffin-peddling college dropout for her concerns in his affairs. I like that he finally just stepped up and said, you know what, shut the F up. Watch who you're talking to, lady.
I was really waiting for Lex to say, really, you seem to have an interesting perspective on this. I want you to be my campaign manager. I thought that was going to happen. I'm so glad it didn't.
Clark heads to campus to discuss his daddy issues with Professor Fine. Milton questions Clark's deal with his deadbeat dad and then mocks his impatience for seeking more answers. Humans are so impatient, aren't they?
They are.
We don't know what that's
I
like.
mean, great scene. This is one of my favorites. This is, we talked to James and you guys will hear the interview, but this is classic. I mean, I just loved listening to him.
His delivery was great. Yeah, the back and forth was great.
When Clark returns home, he shares his Kryptonian bond with his new professor, and his parents are, once again, disappointed that their son's super secret is not so secret. As Jonathan questions his motives, Martha begins to receive a numbing and burning sensation across her body, revealing that some sort of strange bruising is growing.
Yeah, I like the effects. I like the makeup. I like her response. It was just all, she sold it. Of course, she always does. The Kents leave home in another attempt to stump the doctors at Smallville Medical. Surprisingly enough, even though Martha almost died from a meteor rock-related fever, this time Jonathan blindly reassures Clark that everything will be fine, Milton Fine, and they should return home. Later that night, over at the Daily Planet, Chloe gets a visit from the murderer who tried to blow her up, Lionel Luthor. He congratulates her career ascension and teases a big paranormal story that could put her on the map, and she begins playing dumb when Lionel describes a Superman on campus at Central A&M, but it's not Clark. It's Professor Fine.
It's one of the things I liked about Schneider and the way he played Jonathan Kent is one of his rules was that Jonathan's problems were not going to be Clark's problems. And I think that's where you see in these scenes with Martha, where he's assuring Clark, he's frustrated, but he's, I'll deal with this because Clark could super speed her to the hospital if he needed to.
Yeah.
But Jonathan didn't want his problems to be his son's problems. And I thought John did a great portrayal of that.
Yeah, he really, again, they both embodied those characters. They just, I can't see anybody else doing them.
One thing I've never asked them, and maybe I will, or if they're on the podcast, is if they ever had a conversation between themselves as actors, how they wanted to play the mother-father relationship, because they're very different, but there's always an overlap that's rewarding to watch when they're on screen together.
The next day, Clark meets up with his professor to share the marks appearing on Martha. Fine tells Clark that his dad was a violent dictator and deployed similar torture tactics on his subjects. He then waxes poetic about Zod and how Krypton would have been saved if he rose to power. They leave to visit Martha, and after she begins seizing up, they use hippy-dippy crystal medicine by applying kryptonite to her forehead to relieve the pain, but only temporarily. However, Fine tells Clark that there is no cure, and Clark will be dead in a couple of hours.
Martha will be dead in a couple hours. Did you say that? I think you said Clark. Martha.
I said Martin.
you know what was funny? He's like, where's the kryptonite? Oh yeah, it's in the closet. It's on the top shelf. Yeah. Like, why would they have any kryptonite in this house? Every time you go to get your coat, you're like, oh, I feel like shit. Oh yeah, there's kryptonite up there. What the hell? The guys reconvene outside. Clark is determined to visit Jor-El to talk to him about killing his mother, and Jonathan is pissed off that there has been a death note made against his family without his knowledge. Clark heads to the Fortress of Solitude to yell things out with his dictator daddy. I wish it was a little louder. You yelling, and they could have made it a little louder. It sounded too muffled. Jor-El tells him it's too late, and even Clark can't alter this destiny. Hindsight, did Jor-El not know what was going on with Martha? Was he talking about the destiny of another loved one?
And he doesn't know that Brainiac's there? I know that's a good thing about this episode is I watched it out of order, like I said last time, but I had no idea what's going on.
Me too.
Which
I kind of liked. I was like, what's going on? He doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't know. I just kind of bought into it.
Back in Smallville, Lex reviews issues with surveillance footage of the big black spaceship. Lionel interrupts to warn Lex that the spaceship skeletons in his closet are going to come back to bite him with his political campaign. It'd be weird if the guy running for office was like, aliens! They're out there, man! Clark returns home empty-handed and hopeless to his dying mother. Martha fights through the pain to tell him she's ready to sacrifice herself for her man-son.
Yeah,
that was
some beautiful scenes.
Yeah.
Beautiful moments between you and Martha. I mean, there were so many heart-wrenching moments that I was like, oh my God. Like, I saw tears in your eyes, and it was like,
oh yeah,
you were really like, you were in those moments.
Yeah, and they don't write for Clark. Then I don't think they ever wrote, except when Alicia died. I think they asked for tears, like it was in the script. But like this scene, there wasn't supposed to be tears. And I could have easily played this scene of like, no, Mom, I got this. Nope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Annette has this presence and she's so available in a scene that you become available.
You feel
and
comfortable.
Things just open up. Things just open up.
Yeah, it's easy for you to be vulnerable. While Chloe is digging for dirt on Professor Fine, Lois stops by to ask her cousin for dirt on Lex. She wants to launch a smear campaign exposing his padded room past. But Chloe says nobody will speak out. Instead, she decides to see Professor Fine. If Professor Fine, the anti-Luthor Corp activist, will assist. The cousins head to Luthor Corp and use some high-tech covert tactics and a Ford Focus to break in. That was ridiculous. Inside, Chloe sees Milton Fine go sludge mode and transform his bodily shape. Outside, Lois changes her tactics, decides to cold cock the security guard. This provides her enough time to rescue Chloe before they get caught. You know what I felt? When they were in this car, it felt like before in the past it was too easy, and now they dragged it on to show you how it actually happened. You're like, that's worse. It's
also, I want
to
give some credit to the actor who played the security guard because he's being asked to be impressed by a Ford Focus and enter the vehicle. Like
a Ford Focus. He's like, wow, cool car. Does this have four-wheel drive? No.
I'm going to put my big boy pants on for this scene because I got to find something to
What a
care
great
about.
horn.
A CD player?
Oh my gosh, you have a radio?
No.
Destitute, Clark visits Professor Fine and pleads for any solution to save his mother. Fine advises against it, but tells Clark the only way to save Martha is to destroy the Fortress of Solitude and stop the crystal voodoo magic. Clark tells Fine to say less and agrees.
Clark and Fine head to the fortress to trigger some sort of self-destruct. As soon as Clark spikes the console, Fine flips on him and whips out kryptonite to weaken Clark. This reveals that Fine is not actually Kryptonian and has been false flagging.
Awesome.
He then exposes his allegiance to General Zod, shares the master plan to rid the Earth of human scum, and opens up the Phantom Zone, welcoming home Zod.
Yeah, this reveal was really cool, and I thought it was badass. The Fortress of Solitude fight, which we're about to hear, is awesome.
Something that I just remembered because I'm watching it at the same time. I remember. So the Fortress of Solitude only had two walls. You know, it was this way. It's kind of like what you could put, you know, like what Ryan has behind him. The other side is all cameras and cranes and all these other things that you never really see. And I remember James coming onto that set because the lights aren't all on, the snow's not blowing yet, the wind machines aren't on, and you kind of block the scene. And I remember him looking around and he goes, "So this is it, huh?" And I couldn't tell if he was impressed or not impressed. And I go, "Yeah, that's about it. We can only afford two walls." And he goes, "That'll work." And then when we came to scene and they had all this stuff going on, he's like, "Okay, now I understand why this is such a big deal." And I just remember him really embracing, you know, you were talking about confidence and being on a set, and he uses it all. You know what I mean? He just embraces it all. Yeah. And I think it really adds to just his presence.
Yeah. You need somebody there who has sees a bigger picture and sees how much can we actually do? What can we actually do here? Not just do what's enough, but go above and beyond and make it as good as you can.
Before Zod can emerge from the Phantom Zone, Chloe teleports in to remove the kryptonite from Clark, allowing him to pull the poison spike, destroying the fortress. And then it's an all-out super fight. The guys blast back and forth until Clark shoves Fine across the room, impaling him on the console spikes.
Loved it. That was awesome. Those spikes moving. I love it. Those crystals moving.
That's always a brutal death. Like when someone falls like from a great distance and like just gets impaled by stuff. That's why I'm still uncomfortable around rebar whenever I see it around construction zones.
Oh yeah, dude. Rebar.
It's like the same. Like I get like tingly. I don't like it.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with those crystals.
Tom, you have memories of this scene?
I remember there was a little bit of a discussion with James just sort of wanting to understand how much sound was going to be in the final product so he could speak louder, or you know what I mean? Like he was smart to ask that because some people, when you do a scene in a nightclub and people are just started talking to each other, like, well, guys, there's going to be music back here. You got to like project. So he knew to ask.
That's important. That's important.
And he just, you know, again, I can't say enough about him. He just makes it all seem really interesting because
100%.
He's interested.
Yeah, he was really good. He worked hard.
With Fine's defeat, not death, the big black spaceship disappears. Martha's illness leaves her body, and Clark is left without a history professor. What are we going to learn now? And we all get A's?
I think so.
I think you all pass. Congratulations.
All right, thanks. Milton's dead.
The next day, Martha and Clark share gratitude for their family and talk about the idea of losing those closest to you. Later, Chloe and Clark have a post-game wrap-up by the fire. Clark shares what he knows about Zod, and Chloe shares what Lionel knew about Fine.
Over at the Luthor Mansion, Lionel visits Lex upon his son's request. Lex believes Lionel stole the spaceship and tells his dad he wants it back now. After Lionel plays dumb, Lex grabs his head like Fredo and Godfather and leaves the room. I like that. That was my call. I just grabbed his face.
Was there a line after that, or were you supposed to just walk out?
No, I was just supposed to walk out, and I grabbed his face, and he looked at me like with surprise. I remember him looking at me like, "All right, go."
Oh, ahead. You didn't tell John?
No, and I remember him looking at me like, "Oh yeah, yeah, do this." And then I just
even loved it.
And that was the one thing that gives you power when you were just so upset you wanted to crush him, but you just grab him and say, and then just leave. I felt like that was power. That was like, I could kill you, and I'm not going to. Bleep those F's, please. But
no, this is great watching it even right now. And when you grab him, because you probably didn't do it in the wide shot, so you probably surprised him.
Yep.
And the way he looks at you, yeah, he likes it.
Yeah, he liked it. It was weird. Later, Lois heads back to the Daily Planet to follow up with her cousin on the Lex smear campaign. Chloe continues to claim it's a pointless attempt, and they both foreshadow Lois's future as a reporter. Speaking of foreshadowing, the episode ends with Clark self-reflecting on his gullibility and Jonathan reassuring his son not to worry about Jor-El's warning. I thought it was a bit of a weird ending. It was abrupt, but it still worked.
Yeah, by the time I got to that scene, I was like, it's got to be over. Oh, now it's over.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's a quick.
Like, we got to be wrapping up. Oh, yeah, okay.
Now it's over.
Now we're done.
Closing thoughts. Lex literally has nobody he can trust now. Things coming to a boiling point with him. The Milton Fine character arc this season, obviously it's going to continue. We haven't seen the last. Thoughts on Chloe being the best sidekick Clark has had so far. She literally saved the world here. That was cool. Seeing her come into it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Interesting things of note. First episode where Lana is neither seen nor mentioned. Lois's new car in 2006 is a Ford Fusion. During the original airing, you could win a Fusion by entering a contest and identifying the song playing during the scene with the security guard.
Oh, it was a
promotion.
No, it was a cover of Wicked Game.
What a wicked game.
Yeah.
Wow. Good memory.
That's what it was. But it was done in like super mid-aughty.
Terrence Stamp originally played Zod in the first 2 Superman movies.
So do I win a 2006 Ford Fusion now?
If you want it, you could have it. But you have a nice car now. I don't think you want to.
I mean, I was driving a 2008 for a long time, so I think can't be that far off.
Talkville is brought to you by Factor.
Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals and options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Tom, we talk about this, but like I spend so much money on delivery services for food and the taxes and the fees. And all of a sudden you're like, I just spent $40 on one meal. I mean, you could have like 5 Factor meals for what you're paying for one delivery service, and it's delicious and it's ready in 2 minutes, no mess. These other places where they send you all the ingredients, well, you're still cooking it and it takes 30 minutes. I don't want any of that. I want Factor. Am I right?
I mean, I'm literally going to have some salmon from Factor after this. I mean, it's going to be so easy. It's already in my fridge. Put it in there. I'm going to eat it. It's like, not only is it convenient, it's fast, and it tastes great.
Make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options.
Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and the blackened salmon I'm about to have.
Yes, keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Head to factormeals.com/talkville50 and use code talkville50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code talkville50 at factormeals.com/talkville50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Factor Meals. All right, you guys have been waiting for this actor friend of ours for a long time. He's amazing, and we're so delighted to have him. Milton Fine, Brainiac, Mr. James Marsters. James, thank you. You look great. You look the same. A little grayer, but the same, you know? When you got offered to do this, was it a no-brainer, or were you no pun intended, or were you like, you know, unsure about it, and you were like, kind of like, I'm not, like, what was your reaction?
I remember Al took me out to dinner at the Santa Monica Promenade to talk to me about it, and I was excited to do it, but I remember telling him, Al, I got to be honest with you, I'm a Batman guy. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, man, because when Batman goes to work and tries to save the day, you don't know if he's going to make it home, because if you shoot him, he's dead. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
But Superman is going to be fine. We all know that. Except if you pull out kryptonite.
Right.
And then you get that moment when Superman has to risk his life to try to save people. And that's the ultimate hero moment. And I said, you know, in movies, they always pull out the kryptonite because you have to have that to get that moment in the movie. It's every time. But you're doing a TV show, man. You can't do that every week. What the hell are you going to do? And he just looks at me and he goes, James, man, relax. My Superman is a teenager. He's vulnerable to everything. And I think I dropped my fork because I realized that that's the answer. That's how you make Superman vulnerable. That's how you give him adventures. You don't have to live on the physical vulnerability. It's an emotional vulnerability. It's a coming of age story. And yeah, you can pull out kryptonite when you want to. You can get that too, but you don't have to lean on it every single time.
Yeah.
And it won't get repetitive. And he was right. You know?
Were you nervous at all? Were you nervous when you first stepped on set to play this character?
Oh my God. Okay, so I had done nudity scenes on Buffy, right? And I had gone through that uncomfortable morning where you come on. Have you guys had this? You come onto set, you go into your dressing room, you go into your trailer, and you have your costume rack, and the only thing on the rack is a sock, you know. Oh. And they're trying to be cool about it, and they put your little name tag on the sock.
Yep.
And you have that, you have a bathrobe, and you have slippers, and that's what you get today. And that's just never a comfortable day.
That was your first day?
Oh yeah. No, so like I had said, okay, I'll come on Smallville, but no nudity. That's the one thing I don't want to do any more of that. Let's just not do that, and I'm good. And they're like, cool, dude. And I get this script, and I get on set, and there's the sock in my dressing room, day one. And call my manager, and they're like, well, you signed the contract, and you pretty much have to do it. And I get on set, and the script supervisor, I think it was a B unit, and it was me coming out of the spaceship and constituting, and they didn't want him, you know, Brainiac to come in clothed. I get it. But unfortunately, the script supervisor started making really sexual and inappropriate, leering comments about me. And,
positive or negative?
Oh, like, oh, baby, I wish I could take that sock from you.
What?
Oh,
no.
Do you want it? Oh, yeah. Do you want to come over to my place afterwards? Oh, why don't you sit by me? You can sit on my lap.
Who is
Why
the script supervisor?
Baby? That's what
that
I
was
said.
not Beth, that's for sure.
Yeah, no,
Who
that
the
wasn't
hell
our
is
Beth.
that?
No, she was.
And that's the thing is so.
Oh my God.
Oh man, that was not what I needed. Came to find out that it was a B unit, and Beth was sick or whatever, and it was a different person altogether who they'd never worked with before. But that was my introduction to Smallville, and I was just like, what have I got myself into?
Well, you know, you play such an amazing character, and like this is the first time I've really watched it because I didn't watch the show. And you're so composed, and you're so even keeled, and you appear like, hey, you are a good guy. And I really was believing, like, even though you came from the ship and everything, and I had my thoughts, but you convinced me otherwise that you were this, you know, you were actually you were a Kryptonian, you were doing well, you were trying to help Clark. Maybe there's truth to this. And I bought it all.
My job, as I saw it, was to fool you, to lure you into thinking that I was really just going to be Clark's friend. You know, like, because the vicarious experience that storytelling gives the audience is everyone who watches Smallville is Clark. When I watch Smallville, I'm Clark. And if we can lure the audience behind the eyes of that character, we can provide them with the roller coaster and the journey.
Yeah.
So in the script, I'm betraying Clark Kent and then convincing him that I'm going to be a good force in his life. And so I've got to do that to the audience so that when I betray Clark, I'm betraying the audience. They're like, God, I trusted you, you bastard, you know, and you get that moment. And so that was kind of the whole thing.
This is something that I try to steal from you, and I learned from working with you. And I think I've said this to you before. I had so much fun working with you because you're so thoughtful in a scene, and you're pacing. You're not just getting the words out. You're not trying to get the scene over with. I think you're the one who told me there's only one way home and it's through this scene. I think you told me that. It was like we were at the university and we were kind of just like, what is all this? And you're like, hey, man, there's only one way home and it's through this scene. And I've said that to a lot of other people since, but your performances are always so thoughtful. And there's points for your character where you're giving these, you know, soliloquies about history and everything, but you draw everybody right into it. Like, we want to listen to what you're saying because you're not rushing it through it. You're sharing it and you're winning people over. And I always look forward to working with you. It was always fun. Yeah.
That was great. I remember saying that, cause days filming, it's tough, man. When it's 12 hours, and there's nothing about filming that helps an actor give a good performance.
No,
nothing. It's all in my way, you know, like I'd come from stage where every moment from the first rehearsal to final curtain is carefully calibrated so that the actor can give the best performance possible, because there's really nothing else but the actors. As long as you have the actors and you have enough light to see them, you can sell tickets. The set could not arrive, the costumes could have been lost, as long as that happens. So, but in film and television, it's all about how do you film it. I was working with a young actor. I had noticed that actors who really care and really want it to be good, they tend to get the most frustrated on set because of all of this stuff that's coming up. Actors that really don't care so much, they're usually easier to work with in a way, you know? And I saw this young actor getting more and more frustrated. And I finally sat down with them and I said, hey, I'm thinking of being an acting teacher for film. They're like, oh, that would be a great idea. And I was like, yeah, and what I'm going to do in my class is I'm going to get my students in a close-up in a really emotional scene, and we're going to film it. And during that close-up, I'm going to throw popcorn at their face. And the person was like, that's just like today. I'm like, exactly, man. That's the job, is we have to be able to give performance when there's all of these things flying around and interrupting your thought process and stuff. But that is what we do. And so, like, that day, Tom, you know, it was probably a normal day when we're just like, oh man, really? They're going to do this? Okay. Wow. And so it's one way home, man, just through the scene.
Did you have any awareness or preparation for Brainiac before playing him? Or if not, what was your inspiration like you brought for the role?
Yeah, at first I was really kind of trying to be thoughtful, as Tom said, you know. And I was like, well, how do you play a robot? And I was thinking about different android characters that I had enjoyed watching in the past, you know. And I'm like, well, should I be like Data on Star Trek, where he's fairly human, but you can tell he's also an android? There's a definite difference there. Should I try to be like Blade Runner, where the whole point is that there's no difference? And I thought, or there's an emotional immaturity to that robot because they don't live long enough to grow up in Blade Runner. And I thought, no, wait a minute. This is a Kryptonian robot, and that's a very advanced civilization. So there would be no difference, no discern, emotional, physical, anything just play it like a human being.
Yeah.
Don't just take all the whole robot thing and just push it to the side. And at that point, I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy. Damn, I don't even have to deal with any of that.
Yeah. It's amazing how when you're playing a role, if you like, even for Lex Luthor, it's like, I didn't watch the movies. I mean, I saw the movies, but I didn't really know a lot about Lex. And I just said, I'm going to be real and grounded and vulnerable. And that's it. I didn't think about what I'm supposed to do or how people want me to play it, and the social media wasn't there. So in a sense, you're just like, you commit to what you're doing and you bring to it what you want, and hoping that, hey, everybody responds to it. And, because there's certainly times when you're doing something and the director will go, okay, yeah, let's go away from that. Let's, work. And then it throws you, and you have to kind of build a character from scratch on set in that moment at times. And so, it can be difficult, but I feel like if you just trust your gut and your instincts, and you have great instincts, that's a big part of it.
I remember watching your guys' pilot in the first couple episodes. And I was just like, this is the first Lex Luthor that's not in some way winking to the audience going, I know he's evil too.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
Even Gene Hackman, I'm sorry to bring up another Lex Luthor, he was amazing, but he was telegraphing the entire time, I am evil, I am evil, I am evil.
Well, I was just thinking, as Michael was talking, that one of the things the show did with Brainiac, that you did with the show, is they didn't do this, hey, Clark, I'm here to help you. Let's go find your mother. Clark says, okay. And then there wasn't a moment where you were like,
exactly.
Because that would have ruined it. It would have ruined it. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that the script writers were on the same thing. Let's betray the audience. Now, I have a question for you, Tom, because I tell people this. It's my memory that this happened.
Uh-oh.
But I don't know if I'm just old and remembering things. I don't, that didn't happen. So I got to check with that. I always want to ask you this. So my memory is that you had told the producers, don't tell me anything that Clark doesn't know. I don't want to. Okay, I'm not that old.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So does that mean that in the beginning, you just thought I was Milton Fine?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, here's the other thing, and there's another example of this. We had a character named Martian Manhunter who came onto the show for a couple episodes. Now, I know now who Martian Manhunter is, but Tom on Smallville, I didn't know he was such a big deal. I didn't know anything of it. So when the guy comes and he's telling Clark all these things, I'm like, I'm hearing it for the first time. And that was so we did that a lot because we joke with Michael because he only read his scenes on the show. He didn't read, so he had no idea what was going on.
I did that on Buffy.
Yeah.
So it's all news to him when he watches it. And it's the same idea.
Because but my character doesn't know what they're saying.
Exactly.
I don't know that stuff.
Exactly. If you don't know what your character would never know about that. Who gives a shit?
Right. Like Meryl Streep, the best actor in the freaking world ever. Better than De Niro. I'm sorry, Bob. But she will read the script like I know him, Bob. I don't know him. Like she'll read the script just to see if she wants to take the role, and then she will never read it again. And then she'll just film each scene, not even remembering if this is the first scene or the last scene of the movie, because her character doesn't know if it's the first scene.
And you know what that brings out? Inadvertent ambiguity.
Exactly. Enforced, chosen ignorance, so that I don't have to act like I don't know what's about to happen. I simply don't know. And I got to say, Tom, I've ripped that off from you ever since you told me that.
That makes me so proud.
It's so smart. It's so smart.
Well, James, we adore you, and we you don't know how much this means to us. You coming on, you come back, of course. So down the road, can we bring you back for like 15 minutes and just do this again?
I would love that,
dude. You're such a great guest. You're filled with so much just knowledge and insight to it all, and I love watching this character. So we're gonna call you back. So you better answer.
I will. Always.
All right. We love you, buddy. Thank you so much.
James.
Talkville is brought to you by AG1. Guys, taking care of yourself isn't always easy, but it should be at least simple. That's why for the last, I don't know how many years, Tom, we've been drinking AG1 every day. No exceptions. It's just one scoop mixed in with water once a day, every day, and it helps make me feel great. I mean, I feel energized, focused, ready for the day. It's true because, Tom, we talk about it. Who wants to take all these vitamins and these pills every morning, all these different things, when you could just take one glass, stir it up, it tastes great, and you're done, and you feel like you've accomplished something and you're starting your day right.
I tell you what, especially when you travel, because if you're taking a bunch of different vitamins and different bottles, you go on a work trip or a vacation. Now you forget what they are because you probably didn't want to bring the bottle. You got to worry about
true.
Which one is this, which one is that. But they have these to-go packs that make it so easy. And the other day, I had one in the morning, and in the afternoon I was feeling a little sluggish, and I'm like, I took another one, kind of brought me back. It's good for your body.
Each serving of AG1 helps deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, which are so important, and much more. It's a powerful habit that's also powerfully simple. If there's one product we had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1, and that's why we've been partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/talkville. That's drinkag1.com/talkville. Check it out. All right, we got our super patron on here. Jen Lee. Jen, how are you? Jennifer. You like Jennifer or Jen?
I get called both. I usually go by Jennifer because I have an Aunt Jen, and it gets confusing in the family.
Can I just call you Aunt Jen then?
That would really confuse me.
Let me ask you this. What makes you, what is it about Smallville that you love?
Okay, so there's a lot about Smallville that I love. The thing that really brought me to it was actually your portrayal of Lex. Like,
Thanks.
Absolutely love the way that you did the subtleties of him from going from good to the dark side, which was just awesome. Hadn't really seen that before. And honestly, like, I was watching Supernatural before I watched Smallville, and I would see bits of it. And Green Arrow is what made me realize Smallville was there because he's my favorite DC character. And I was watching it until about season 4, whenever I got shipped off to boot camp. And at my first unit, I had a friend there who loved Smallville, and we just bonded over it. So I just started watching it again.
And Jensen Ackles was on it. Come on.
Yeah, I do love Jensen Ackles. He is awesome. I actually met him one time, and it was fun. Like, it was a funny meetup.
What did you like about Solitude this episode?
I loved the final, like, seeing Brainiac come into his own. To where you see how he's not actually there to help Clark. He is there to manipulate Clark and bring back Zod. And the way James Marsters plays that is just awesome. Like, he is such a phenomenal actor. I saw him on Buffy, of course. The first time I saw him was House on Haunted Hill, because I love horror movies.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, so seeing that, because the previous episode, he was saying, Clark, you can only trust me. I can help you. And then this episode, you can kind of see him playing onto that trust, and then he twists it at the last second, just the betrayal of Clark. And then, of course, the human that he can trust is Chloe.
Everybody will say that they have someone that they could relate to on a show. Is there someone that you could relate to, or you just felt so much for on this show?
Oh, okay. I mean, it's like an amalgamation because there's different parts that I could relate to. I myself act, so that's one reason why I loved watching you act for Lex, is just watching the subtleties. And I also kind of related to him because there's a whole lot of stuff with family there that I could go into, but I could kind of relate to Lex. And then I didn't turn into a villain, I promised. I don't think. But I could also relate to Clark a bit. With the I was always the mama bear of my friends. You can hurt me as much as you want, but you do not hurt my friends. So the fact that he always was there to save the day, and even whenever he didn't have his powers, he still had it in his heart to do the right thing and be there for those who needed him and for the ones he loved and the greater good. So.
Well, I honestly we just had James on. We did an interview with him earlier, and singing his praises as you just did as well. And I just kept thinking, wouldn't it be cool to see James and John Glover in a scene together?
Yeah.
That would be fun. I don't know why they would have crossed or not, but that would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been awesome, especially like if you have Brainiac versus Jor-El. So, like whenever Lionel is inhabiting or Jor-El is inhabiting Lionel.
I do have a question for you now that you brought it up, and you talked about Michael being his performance being an inspiration. Was there something specific that you noticed that he did that sort of motivated you? I know one of the things that I kind of would take from Michael is his use of his space and his timing, which are always really important, and the idea of being ahead of the other character in a way. Those are just things that I stole from Michael. I don't know if for your performances, have you pulled from any characters that you're fans of and been like, I'm going to use that, I'm going to do that too, or
just the subtle facial expressions. So you don't have to be like sad to happy. You can be like, just a slow movement or the smile with the face and the tick of the eye. So, they don't quite match up. So, he's saying one thing, but he's thinking another.
Nice.
The one episode where you just got the lightning in a bottle, like you said on a previous podcast, is whenever you see Clark get hit by the car and then just that look on your face and then the feeling it. So, and then not wanting to be the star in the scene, if that makes sense, the scene is the story being told. So no matter how you're portrayed, it's better how everybody works together to get that. So you're looking after your co-stars and hoping that they're looking after you too, so that you all look good.
Michael would always say, it's like, if I can make the other actor better, then I'm going to be better anyway. And, I think we've all been in scenes with people who, I've never really been around anybody who's tried to sabotage a scene. I know stories of people who have, but sometimes your scene partner isn't kind of there with you, and you kind of got to either figure out how to get them in, or maneuver around it in a way.
Right.
The more you bring out of them, the better your reactions will be, the better the scene will be, the more dynamic it will be. Because if you're really centered and focused and good in a scene and the other person isn't, it's still not going to be a great scene. People might say, oh, you were really good in that.
Right.
But the whole point is for the story to be good, for the scene to be good, for the moment to be good, to get all the things across that you want to get across. And that's working together. And some people are just out there for themselves. And sometimes you can't get something from someone who's giving you the lines, and you have to imagine that they are. And you have to think,
right,
okay, I still have to come across as, this, or, whatever.
One of our favorite directors,
right,
now that we're on the acting studio, but one of our favorite directors, Terrence O'Hara. I remember we had that episode, Ryan, and the kid, they wanted to get him to a place of tears, and the actor was trying to get there, and I remember Terrence putting his arm around him, and he goes, "I don't want you to try and cry." And the kid was like, "What?" He goes, "I don't want you to have to cry. Like, don't make yourself cry." And the kid was like, "Oh, I could see he was like, oh, good." And the pressure came up. He goes, "But if you want to allow it to happen, that would be okay." And it was just a total different perspective. And that next take, the kid was waterworks. But I mean, that's just great direction. I mean, it's, yeah.
And we've always said this, but I've heard this from other great actors. Like, we as human beings, we don't want to show a vulnerability. We don't want to cry in front of people. So a scene really should be about how you don't want to let emotions come out, but they come out. So, it's like, I have to cry. No, you don't. You don't want to cry, but you can't stop yourself from crying.
Yeah.
It's that. Well, listen, Jennifer Lee, you're amazing. I really appreciate your kind words, and I'm so glad you're a fan of the show and you're a patron supporting the podcast and giving back, and it means the world to us. Thank you, Jennifer. We love you. Now it's time for the hotline, folks. Don't forget the hotline, and we're going to go to our top tier patrons for this one to start us all out. And this is Tom T. Let's see what Tom T's got for us.
Hey, it's Tom from Niagara Falls, Canada, with a question for the season 5 episode Solitude. Tom, I was wondering practically what happens behind the scenes when Phantom Zone portals open up. What's actually happening on set there for you?
It's a good question. We usually put a piece of tape of some sort on a stand that everybody has the same reference point for their visual, and then there'll be smoke machines and fans kind of blowing, and you just really what I do is I try to visualize some version of what I think I'm seeing, and I'll ask, is it going to be swirling? Is it going to be moving? Is it a black hole? Like, what is it? and you just kind of get a sense. But to really find that spot that everybody can look at is the big thing. I mean, James in this one really had to look at that portal and open himself to it in a sense. But yeah.
Also, I think that you have to, when you see these things as a director, you have to get different reactions. So give me a bigger reaction, give me a smaller, give me something in the middle. So then you can, when they actually do it, you have a reaction that matches what they see. Yeah. Michael P.
That's funny. That reminds me now, I was a big fan of correct eye lines.
Hey everybody, it's Michael P. from Texas. In the episode Solitude, Lionel and Chloe share a scene for the first time together in well over a season. If you remember the last time these two interacted, Lionel was attempting to kill not only Chloe, but her family in that famous season 3 finale. Are you surprised when coming face to face with your killer for the first time that Chloe didn't show or express more emotion? Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Huh. I didn't think about that.
Wait. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, because you might know this. Didn't Lex save Chloe from that bomb? He got her out underneath the house or something, right?
I think Lex did. Bryce?
Yeah, but it was still an attempted murder. The bomb still happened.
True.
Right? So Lionel intended to kill her.
Oh, okay.
And then he went to prison, and then they said, "You're all right. You can leave."
I'm pretty sure that we all just forgot that happened.
Yeah. I love that the fans, they know way more than we do. They always do. It's just how it is. Rachel?
Hey guys, this is Rachel from Littleton, Colorado. I'm calling about season 5, episode 8, Solitude. I was in college when this episode aired, and I remember after watching it, I immediately called my mom to describe the scene and tell her how much I love her. So I wanted to ask Tom how he prepares for emotional scenes like that.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Thanks. Isn't that something that a scene can make you want to call your mom?
Thanks for calling in with that. I've referenced this before, but the idea that Clark is going to outlive everybody he loves was always something I would sort of remind myself of in scenes like this. And like with Annette, you just have to listen and, keep it positive. You can't feel sorry for your character. Your character can't feel sorry for himself. Nobody wants to see that. And so you just have to try to keep moving through it emotionally and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, like you said, Mike.
And I think it helps too, like sometimes, if Martha I was looking at, I would try to imagine it was my grandmother who loved me unconditionally. And I would try to think about me talking to my grandmother for the last time. And sometimes that can really help. This is Victoria. What will Victoria say?
Hi guys, this is Victoria calling from London, England about season 5, episode 8, Solitude. My question is for Michael. I noticed in both scenes with Lex and Lionel that there's faint but visible hairline on Lex. I've never noticed it before, so I was wondering if you remember what happened. Was it not the usual makeup team, or did you not shave beforehand? I'm watching Smallville for the first time ever and really loving it, and the podcast too. Michael, your Lex instantly became one of my favorite characters of all time, so thank you for him, and thank all of you for both the show and the pod. Thank you.
Victoria, you're amazing. I didn't notice
she's just letting you know that. She's just letting you know that your hair didn't look good that day?
No, I think sometimes what happens with different makeup, whether it's second unit or whatever, sometimes it's hard. So they could do the same thing they've been doing every day, the makeup artists, and yet the lighting could be a little different and it could show a hairline. And so the DPs, as much as they were aware of it and always tried to do their best, sometimes it was either lighting or sometimes a little makeup, or sometimes my hair was growing. It was late in the day and I was working 14 hours. So it's a combination of things, but I didn't notice that.
I still think it's crazy. There's never a razor promo or.
Yeah. I asked Mach 3. I asked Mach 3 to be like my ambassador, and we should have done a commercial when that came out, but we didn't. Here's Kurdish. Kurdish?
Hi, my name's Pritesh. I'm from Mumbai, India. And my question is about season 5, episode 8, the episode Solitude. I mean, the Jor-El AI is the most unhelpful AI ever to exist. I mean, it doesn't give any information properly. It doesn't give Clark any advice. It speaks half-truths and vague suggestions like Lionel Luther. I mean, he could have given Clark the entire information about Brainiac and the upcoming enemies and, save him a lot of trouble. Yeah, bye.
Yeah, thanks. You're right. I like that he just came out with it. You're not wrong. That's, I mean, you know?
Yeah, Jor-El could have very easily said, hey, that dude that you're getting close to, don't.
Yeah.
You think I'm bad.
Listen, Clark, I know who this person is, but I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to figure it out. Yeah, I don't know. Americo.
Hey, it's Patron Americo Garcia calling from Edinburgh, Texas, about this episode Solitude. I remember there was a contest to see who could win a new Ford Fusion that would be delivered by one of you, the cast members, back when this episode first aired. I remember we had to identify the song that's playing on the stereo in the car at the time to be entered into the sweepstakes, which for any of you that don't know, it's Wicked Game by Jason Isaac. Anyway, thanks. Goodbye.
Chris Isaac.
Yeah, was the original
Also,
singer, I don't know.
if anyone out there knows who won that contest, we'd love to hear from them.
Yes, if you won that contest and won a Ford Fusion, I want to know if anybody actually won a Ford Fusion or the cheap
give us a call.
bastards didn't give them one. But yeah, we weren't really involved in that stuff. They just had stuff, and we never got anything free. We never got any, it wasn't like, oh, you do this and you'll get this, or nothing. Adam?
Hi, this is Adam Rodriguez from Torrance, California. I'm calling in regards to episode 8 of season 5, Solitude, one of my favorite episodes of the season. I was just calling to ask you guys what your thoughts were on the scene where Martha and Jonathan are trying to warn Clark about being cautious towards the other Kryptonian that could possibly be at the college. And in that scene, Martha says,
"You can't judge an entire people by the acts of a few. Clark is Kryptonian."
Huh?
You can't judge an entire people by the acts of a few. That's true. I mean, that goes, think about it. In the world right now, there's people that do horrible acts, but you can't blame their country or their civilization or whatever based on the bad people, because there's bad people everywhere. We do horrible acts. People, commit horrible acts and against humanity. And, it doesn't mean everybody's like that.
Yeah, it's a true thing. And yeah, I think it's for the Kents, their only example of that is someone who's trying to destroy them.
Yeah.
But they don't have the grander perspective of the universe.
Yeah, maybe.
At their disposal.
Scott?
Open your mind, man.
Imagine Jonathan Kent, just like a couple episodes from now, Clark comes, he goes, "Dad, there's a Kryptonian." He goes, "Another one? Another one?"
Oh, great. Who's keeping that
those
secret?
Hey guys, Scott from Bangor, Maine, with a question about season 5, episode
Scott.
8, Solitude. At the beginning, when Clark was talking to Chloe in the Daily Plenty, he said he found his mother unconscious in the field. And then later, Clark said he found her, and then when in the hospital, talking with Mr. Kenny, said he found her unconscious in the driveway. I was curious if that was a mistake on purpose, or they just didn't decide to fix it, because obviously he found his mother in
That's
the
a
driveway
mistake, because he
unconscious.
didn't find her in the field.
Anyway,
so
thanks for the podcast.
They didn't pick up on that. It was obviously a mistake. He didn't find her in the field. He found her in the driveway. So that was a mistake.
That was a mistake, and I bet we shot those out of order, or we would have caught it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, this is no name. This doesn't have a name, but maybe they have a great question regardless.
Question about season 5, episode 8, Solitude. Why were the camera angles so strange when Clark and the professor were talking at the beginning of the episode? Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work.
I don't remember that. The camera angles were strange with Clark and Fine. I do kind of remember that.
We're kind of
It was outside, right?
No, I think it was in the lecture hall. It was like low angle shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember it being weird, but I'm sure it was. Rachel asks, is it just me, or when Mama Kent gets messed up, it has an extra emotional appeal in the episode? Yeah, because everybody loves Mama Kent. So when something happens to her, everybody is just like, oh no. She just has holds so much weight on the show. And whether
Vote
she's
for
there.
Martha. T-shirts are coming out soon.
Vote for Martha. Rosenbaum rating. What do you give it, Ryan?
And now,
Rosenbaum rating. I'm going to give this 2.
2?
Yeah.
Holy shnikes, Ryan.
I was that invested. Maybe it's the Martha of it all. There was like allusions to the future. We defeated the bad guy. Some cool set pieces. Yeah, I liked it.
Tom.
I'm going to give it a solid 2 because I ended up watching it twice, and I liked it the second time even better.
Nice. I'm going to give it a rose and a half. I liked it. I thought it was good. I wasn't absolutely blown away, but I liked it. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Death and save count. 0 dead. Sludge Man did not die. 2 saved. Chloe saves Clark. Clark saves Martha. Through 8 episodes, 20 dead and 17 saved. Series 156 dead, 164 saved. Ryan's favorite scene.
And there were 3 good ones. That's also another reason for the 2 rating.
All right.
Scene 1, Martha and Clark at the couch. Scene 2, the super fight in the Fortress of Solitude.
Ooh.
And scene 3, Lionel and Lex at the end, where Lex grabs his head.
Oh. Number 2.
So you say the super fight. You say the super fight.
You talk. Give me 2.
All right, he says super fight. I'm going to go with on the couch with Martha.
It was Martha.
Yeah! It was too emotional. It had to be that one.
It was touching. I had to write down everything she was saying because I knew this is going to be good.
Boom. All right, let's take the discussion online. Let us know your thoughts on the episode over on our socials at Talkville Podcast or Talkville Pod. Show support for the podcast by joining Patreon at patreon.com/Talkville. If you want more info, like merch on the show, it's all on our hotline number. You can find that all in the description. Follow us, listen to us, support us. We love you. And
remember, folks, always hold on to Smallville.
And we couldn't do this without our top tiers. Remember, join patreon.com/Talkville. It's like a streaming service. You know, you give back and we keep going. And we thank you and we love you. And these are our top tiers that give back. And we love you all. And here we go. Leanne P. Raj C. Santiago M. Thomas Tom Turner. Shane W. Sophie M. Betsy D. Abby P. Ray Harada. Carrot Apple M. 99 More. Lalani N. Brett G. Always hold on to Smallville. Estevan G. Charlie T. Garrett W. Bob K. Tom N.
That was more than 10.
I know.
Jason W. Thank you. Osama A. Glenda W. Lana Rhymes with Banana W. Nancy D. Good seeing you last weekend. Brian G. YVR Grips. Amanda R. and Teddy 127.
Michael P. Ryan R. Jordan M. Randy B. Craig G. Jor L. Heather N. Greg. I made Talkville say butts. Brian H. Eric K. Kristen B. Darth Achilles.
Finky. Early is on time. Miss Clark Kent. Damn, who's that? Jeanette E. Deadvid, General Zod, Theodore Jammin J, and Doug R.
Carlos C. Tommy Z. Boston 68. Ken the Limerick Guy. Corey L. Mr. Home Arcade. Jess C. Claire M. D. Brown. Karen Era M.
Thank you, Jules M. Eldon Supremo, always in the house. Leslie V. Brian P. Mick Birch, Ginger Moose. Please remember Janice from North Carolina. Christoph S. Michelle M. And we can't forget Amanda Lynn.
Jessica B., Sebastian F., Wolfie, Dak Flando, Matthew and Lincoln B., Breyer, who's on the show today, Charlene, or something like that. She was on a show that comes out later. Charlene A., Marion Louise L., CGO, Cindy C., Nikki L., Shannon Fofan, Tina E.
Matt Rick, Jen T., Randy S., Cassie B., Brad A., Felicia R., Danny Mo Mirabel, J.S., Mary K., I wonder if she has a pink Cadillac. Rachel D. and Steven Nate Danger.
When you're rich, you aren't crazy. You're eccentric. Rosenbaum, Fan, Sammy Sharman, Carrie Ann, the Alexander Castle, Daryl E., Jenny B76, Anna B., Monica T., Jeffrey K., Pip Kenobi, Katya C., previously on Smallville.
Keith B., Cookie K., Justin, Patron Saint of Smallville, Patron Saint. Libertariat, it sounds like a horse.
A horse.
Danny Z. from Cleveland. Biagio C., Cal 38, Felicia B., Lady J., the Salty Ham. That's the only way you want to have it. Murphy C., David L., Madison H., and Mika J.
Tori H., Kelowna A., Zeb. This is like Home Goods when you go there. Cashier number 4. Zeb R., Z Wicked Stepdad, My Pup Lex, Shelby, Kara, Natalia, Dr. J. Sia, Dr. G. and Dr. T. Kryptonite, Dominic D., Brandon C., Ned L., Flirtatious B.
Persix, Kurgan K., Hunter, Naaman L., Gorgeous TV, Smallville for Life, Bobby B., Reese S., Kara C., Pico Del Grato, Kai W., JB, Kendrick F., and happy birthday, Lindsay B.
Happy birthday, Lindsay B. That's it. We love you guys. Thanks so much for being here, and we will see you next week.